Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
Isn't it amazing how life has changed? Like, you should have just heard the things that, like, Shep and I were talking about. Like, I miss the simplicity, Shep, of, you know what am I doing today? Well, I'm going to wake up and go to the gym. I'm going to go buy 2 tins of chew. I'm probably going to buy another extra one after that. I might go see a dumb dollar movie. I might go to the arcade. That was
the biggest concern. The biggest concern you used to have was just make sure I don't drink out of the same bottle I'm spitting in. That's the biggest concern I had back in the day. Now I can't remember a damn password to a StreamYard line, for crying out loud. I can remember all this other. Here's what my wife always says to me, Sean. You probably get the same thing from Kristen. How can you remember statistics of a player or a team? And in your case, how can you remember every Super Bowl champion and MVP of that game, from the very first one between the Packers and the Chiefs to the latest one between the Chiefs and the 49ers, but you can't remember our anniversary? I don't. It pisses me off, because you think you're doing the right thing. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in my phone. I'm going to make a little folder here. I'm smart. Watch me. I'm real smart. SMART. And I'm going to put, does it work? Hell no, it doesn't work.
Dude, true story. Okay. This is a true story. When my father passed away a couple of years ago, I told this story at his wake, you know, because they asked me to go speak and everything. So when I was younger, that's why I giggled when you said it. When I was younger, my dad used to do this trick with me. Like we'd be doing homework and everything. And here I thought my old man was being nice, but the old man was incapable of nice. So he would do things like he would go, "Who won the Stanley Cup in 1979?" And go, "Don't disrespect me like that. Habs over the Rangers in 5. What was the final score of Super Bowl 12? Dallas 27, Denver 10. Stop it. Like, you're wasting your time." Then he'd ask me some 5th grade math problem that I was supposed to know. You know what? You're just dumb. What's all that useless information in your brain? What are you going to do with that one day? How's that?
Did you ever, have you turned into him at all? At all?
No.
Even the slightest bit?
No, no. We're two different people. Like, and it's, you know, the cool thing, Shep, we got to a really good point in a relationship, because I think as the older you get, sometimes you just go, I am never going to be what that dude wants me to be. Like, that's never going to happen. And then from his vantage point, he was like, you know, for a dumbass, he's not as dumb as I think he is. He's still a dumbass, but he's maybe not as dumb as I think. So, like,
yeah, there's good traits about your dad. I'm talking about good traits about your dad. There are certain things about your dad that you probably do, and maybe you just don't recognize.
Well, yeah, he was the most doting, like, grandfather. That was another bit, because, like, I always used to say, once he retired from the police department, I'd go, "Who are you? Take your mask off." And he'd go, "Don't poison their minds. Don't you start that. Don't you start that." And I'd go, "I want you to take off your mask. What's up, Eric? I hope you are well." So, Shep, yes, passwords. I'm not joking. If anybody wants to, like, find out all my passwords to everything that I have, like, literally, Shep, I'm not joking. I have them written down on a piece of paper. Like, that's how I remember. Honest to goodness. Like, 10 different things.
We work with Todd and Blake. Todd is buttoned up, man. He knows exactly what's going on. You could tell that he's really organized. He's one of those guys. He doesn't have the same password for a lot of stuff. He's just sharp. He's giving us ideas and what we're supposed to do. I got to learn and hang out with more people like Todd, because that will allow me to expand my knowledge and give me a better sense of what I should be doing and where I should be putting those passwords. You speak of dads. It's funny, because I bet your dad and my dad would get along really well. I used to have to do all the yard work, my brothers and I.
Yep.
My brother and I.
Yep.
You got to cut the grass. You got to trim the driveway. Okay. Make sure you edge the driveway. You got to trim the bushes. You got to pick up after the animals, right? You got to rake the leaves. You got to shovel all that stuff. You don't get paid for that stuff, Sean.
Nope.
You don't get paid for it.
Nope.
All my dad does is say, when you come in and you're like, Dad, cut the grass. Looks really good. Cut it twice. Once vertical and once horizontal. Uh-huh. I edged the driveway. Uh-huh. I said, and I picked up after Jenny, the dog. You want a medal? Raise the flag. Big deal. You did what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Well, what exactly are you looking for?
Yep.
Like after a game, if you have a good game, he's right there patting you on the back. He's doing all the things that you'd love a loving father to do. But when you're supposed to do the work at home while your mom's not, working every day and then making food, and your dad's working every day, you're supposed to do that stuff.
Yep.
Don't be looking for a little pat on the back, a little pat on the ass, and an attaboy when you're only doing what you're supposed to do. Period.
Saturday in the fall, Shep, I was not allowed to do anything. Like, I'm serious. I was not allowed to do anything until first it was water the grass. That was always my thing. And my friends would literally be standing in front of the house. All right. And there was enough error. There was enough error that I knew exactly what had to be done. Nope, not good enough. So like, not good enough. So I knew exactly what needed to be done. And then I could go. And then when the time came, when the leaves came down, it was just the understanding. It didn't even have to be stated. I had to rake. That was my gig. And I knew I couldn't go anywhere. Why even try to sneak out of the house? Because I'll eventually pay. So it's like, you know what? I'm just going to go outside and rake. And my buddies are going, dude, come on, the game's starting. I'm like, all right, listen, I'd love to go play right now, but I'd love to avoid a beat down more. So I'm just going to rake. And then when I'm done raking, then I can play. And by that time, your hands are just shredded. Your hands are just shredded from raking. But
yeah, you got the blisters. Here's another one for you, okay? My dad loved to watch games, right? Oh, so George Kell and Al Kaline are on Channel 4, the Tiger after they win. Rawr, and after they lose, they got the ice pack on the head. Rawr, you remember all that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, a lot of times my dad would fall asleep, and he would always need me and my brother in the family room watching the game with him. All of a sudden, he falls asleep. My brother gets up and leaves so he can go outside and play. I would try to get up, and for some reason, I always got the love seat that had that little creak in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Dad pops open an eye. Where are you going? Got to stay there. Make sure you stay there. I turn over, I look over my shoulder. My brother's dancing. Hey, man, I got out. You're still in jail. That's just the way it goes.
Oh, it's so damn good. Bill, hello to you as well. Bill said, good evening, Shauna and Shep. Shep's landscaping service. 10-year-old Shep had a landscaping NIL deal with Ace Hardware.
No,
yes.
It was actually Gene's Hardware right there on 12 Mile between Orchard Lake and Middlebelt.
Okay.
Gene's Hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't too far away, man. Seriously, 7 in Merriman. I was just down the road.
Yeah.
All right, so now I got to tell you what I was talking to Todd before you signed on. We have Yellow Jackets that decided that they wanted to embed themselves right between the brick and our door. That little area just above it. And I'm telling you, I have fired 3 cans of Raid in there. I went with the home remedy of WD-40, and these sons of bitches, they're tough little bastards.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, they won't go away, Shep. It's incredible. It is incredible.
I'll tell you, they're dangerous when they burrow in the yard too. You're cutting your grass.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you get a nest of that stuff, and they'll come up and they'll be biting you left and right. You got to watch out for the dogs too. Especially your dogs. They'll start yapping all over the place.
Oh, that's what they do. So listen, I got your take on the Lions game. What did you take away from it? I know we talked about it last week. Listen, I don't put anything into it. Okay.
Yeah,
I just don't. There's not much to put into it. I think they know a majority of the roster, et cetera, et cetera. Anything jump out to you at all about this?
Yeah, not really. You know, what's interesting to me is, the landscape of where the first round picks are, or just the specific rookies that people are looking forward to watching. and how we have a tendency to overreact in a positive way if it's our guy and kind of let it slide if our guy doesn't do all that well. So, for example, if you're watching any of that Minnesota game, JJ McCarthy throws an interception. Social media is a buzz. I told you this guy couldn't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
He throws 2 touchdown passes. Nobody says a thing,
Yeah.
right?
It's amazing how that works out, isn't it?
Caleb Williams makes a beautiful throw rolling to his right. Between the 8 and 5, it's preseason, but it's an impressive throw, right? Jaden Daniels with a fly route down the right sideline, beautifully placed ball. Does that mean they're going to do it during the regular season? I don't know. I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed watching Bo Nix. Pretty impressive, right? Yep. There are Stenson Bennett, threw 4 picks, but he also threw a really nice touchdown pass. I'm taking it for entertainment value, Sean. Enjoying a different sport other than baseball at this time of the year. And I think I will make up my mind when I've seen all 3 preseason games. It doesn't mean I've come to a conclusion on who's going to win the division, the conference, or the Super Bowl, but I think you'll have a better understanding and a better idea of what it's all about. It's so important. I know you and I have talked about this, and I think you're dead on regarding the number of games, but it's so important for coaches and players just to get that feel out there. So I'm actually looking more forward to the second game than any of them, because I think that's when you're going to see some of the Lions starters.
I thought one of the funniest things, and I know you were around back then, I used to love when Steve Mariucci used to try to pretend like the third game, the dress rehearsal. I that was just a great bit. It really, and the reality is it caught on for about 15 years too long, if we're being honest, okay? I still heard people not that long ago, well, that third game's the dress rehearsal. Shut up. I get it. We're all yearning for football. Yeah. Shep, I posted something the other day on social media. I forget which one, but I said something like, this game was a subtle reminder of how bad preseason football is.
It was on X. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And my next statement was, I can't wait for next Saturday. I'm in. I'm going to watch it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to watch it. I just don't put a lot into it,
I don't either. I will say this: midway through the second quarter, I looked at my son and I said, "Is this still in the first quarter?" He says, "No, it's in the second quarter, Dad." I said, "This is tough to watch." Okay. And it really is. I mean, it is tough to watch. It goes to show you. Look, I'm all for those guys putting some stuff on film and getting the best experience they can. Good for you. No one can ever take it away from you. But I can't. I was thinking about you while I was watching it, and I said, you know what? Sean wants 2. I do too.
Yeah.
The more I watched that, the more I thought, this is really tough to stomach. The other thing that I recognize is, it goes to show you. I mean, people want great backup quarterbacks. Teams carrying 3 quarterbacks. You don't have 96 good quarterbacks in the world, man. I mean, it's just it's so hard to find them. And people have asked what's on in the background. It's a baseball game. Red Sox are playing. There's
a joke there, and I'm just going to let it go. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I would appreciate that. I don't know why I brought the Red Sox and not the team they're playing. It's on my mind. Yes. I mean, so that's what it is. But like you, I mean, I'm all in, man. I can't get enough football info right now. You're probably the same way.
Yep, that's exactly it. Hendon Hooker, I don't know. Seriously, I don't. I know there's it's funny, Shep, because I've heard a lot of people say, should the Lions go out and get a veteran? And Tannehill's a guy that comes to mind. Okay, right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, God forbid something like this happens. The catastrophic happens. The chances are very, 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 very likely that all your hopes and aspirations and dreams of the Super Bowl go out the window if a quarterback goes down. Okay. Now I know there's Hostetler, there's Foles, there are exceptions, but let's be honest. The reality is it's almost like we were talking about with these rookie quarterbacks. I'm excited about what JJ McCarthy will be one day. Let's see what Caleb is one day. You know what I know? Rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle, and they're going to do dumb rookie things. I know that. There's a long and illustrious history of that. And the same thing can be said with, God forbid, Jared Goff goes down, your Super Bowl chances in all likelihood go out the window as well. But with that being said, Shep, do you think that they need to upgrade at this point in time?
Here's what, when people ask me that, this is what I'd ask you. Let's say he went down in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'd go get somebody?
Yes.
Then why not? Then why not do it now?
That's a good point. Great. That's a great point.
So that's how I look at it. And so the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
If you think, and they have a better grasp of this than I do, if you think Ryan Tannehill is better than Nate Sudfeld or Hendon Hooker, then you should go do that. If you think AJ McCarron is better than either one of them, then do that. What do we hear from teams at this time of the year all the time? You and I have been out at that practice facility, whether it be Allen Park or in Saginaw Valley or in Pontiac, and we've seen or heard players working out there. Because what do we hear all the time? We hear the front office say, we're always looking to improve.
Yep.
We always want to get better.
Yep.
If that's your philosophy, and I think it should be, and I think it is, especially for the Lions, then go do it. Because I find it hard to believe that Ryan Tannehill wouldn't give you a little bit more confidence than Nate Sudfeld. I don't care how great of a guy he is in the quarterback room and all that other stuff. How are you going to do when the bullets are flying? And Tannehill's done it more than Sudfeld. I'm just bringing up those names because that's what you brought up. The other thing that I'm encouraged with, though, Sean, is we're hearing so many, how shall I put this, distractions with other teams. San Francisco with Ayuk, and of course their big left tackle, who's among the best of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Jets now with, Hassan Reddick with the Eagles, asking to be traded, and the Eagles are saying no. The Patriots and Matthew Judon, the possibility there. There's a lot of other things taking place, whether it be Trent Williams or Hassan Reddick or whatever. There's a lot of things taking place that can take you and your mind and the questions that you and I ask of athletes all the time off focus for a moment. The Lions don't have any of those distractions, do they? That's a really nice feeling right now.
You know what's interesting? Tim brought up something. And Tim, you're right. But I also have to say the game is totally different. Tim said, didn't the 72 Dolphins go undefeated with a backup quarterback? And the answer to that is yes. Bob Greasy, I don't remember this. I just know from hearing so much about the 72 Dolphins. Bob Greasy, I believe, broke his ankle, and Earl Morrall was in for a large part of the season, like a large part of the season.
That's right.
The game is totally different today. So I just looked up. This isn't off the top of my head, so I'm not claiming geekdom. I just looked up their numbers that year. It is frightening to me, Shep. The numbers from these guys combined 15 touchdowns and 11 interceptions between two quarterbacks. A completely different game today.
That is nuts. Well, how about this backup quarterback, Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Drew Bledsoe goes down.
Yeah.
Tom Brady comes in.
Yeah.
And leads them to a Super Bowl. So Sean didn't say that it's impossible. He knows there are exceptions, but let's face it. You and I, all of us, whether it be Tim or Eric or Bill or whomever, we would all agree that position is arguably the most important in sports. Goalie's right up there too, but this is the most important position in sports. And if you lose your starter, if he's a legitimate starter now, okay, I'm talking about legitimate starter. I'm not talking about the Raiders losing Aiden O'Connell, okay? A legitimate starter like Jared Goff, you feel a lot more comfortable with a guy who's been under center for X amount of years, 9-10 years, than you do with a guy who's only taken snaps in cleanup time. It's as simple as that.
No question. And like I say, hey, Nick Foles comes to mind. That was amazing. Shep, guys like I still remember the run Jeff Hostetler had. There was no way that Giants team, even if Phil Simms was healthy, they weren't beating that Buffalo Bills team. No way. And obviously we know how that happened. I mean, it's amazing. Hey, very quickly, let's talk about Lindsay Broadwell. When it's time to get yourself a new house, you're buying, you're selling, you need the right agent. You know who you need to contact? That young lady right there, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyers, sellers, first-time buyers, doesn't matter. You need to reach out to somebody that knows. And Lindsay Broadwell knows. So make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, it's so funny because I think in years gone by, people would shiver when you say this. And we all have those friends, right? I've had friends that have told me, what are you doing wasting your time on the Lions? And I'm not one to throw it back in their face now because literally everybody I know is all in. Literally everybody I know. And I'm not going to throw it back in their face because I get it. There were times where I beat my head against the wall. But it is weird going into a season where not your hope. My expectation is the Detroit Lions go to the Super Bowl. Honestly, it really is. I'm not being a slap here. You know, I'd be the first guy to call out cornbread or Kool-Aid, whatever the case may be. My expectation is to go to the Super Bowl, and it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, let me just put an asterisk next to it. If they're healthy, that's if like we've said. I mean, a lot of people and somebody else, Bill brought up, hey, the CD Lamb drama that's taking place in Dallas. I'd forgotten that. That's a good one. Thanks for the reminder,
Bill.
But I would just say, and somebody had put in there, hey, if you lose Goff, they'll put this, we're done, full stop. It depends on how long you lose him for. But I always say this, so much depends on health. If you lose Frank Ragnow for an extended period of time, I'm worried. If you lose N.A. School for an extended period of time, I'm worried. Okay. If you lose Aiden Hutchinson for an extended period of time, I'm worried. So there's more than just the quarterback. It depends on how long. If Goff missed a couple of weeks, I think you can get by as long as you've got those guys, those big fellas up front. I really do, depending on who you're playing. But I do think they can get by. Look, no one's going undefeated in this NFL this year. We know that. I'm not going to freak out. People freaked out against Kansas City. They ended up winning it all. People got too high and mighty on Philadelphia when they started 10-1 and lost 5 of their last 6 and got bounced by Tampa. There's so many things that can happen. There's no need to overreact. But if they're healthy, my expectation is Super Bowl II. It's funny you say that because a friend of ours, Herman Moore, I asked him the very same thing, and he said, no, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. And I know that's a cliche, and I don't always like to use it, but I love the fact, like you just said, the expectation is there, but not just the expectation, the realistic expectation is there because of the players and the way this team is not just built, but the way they run things. It's phenomenal.
It's interesting, and it's funny that you bring up who it is and how long it is, because let's say Goff goes down for 6 weeks, okay? That's when you sit back and you pray, you know what? Wouldn't it be great if Hendon Hooker or whoever went 3-3? Because then you're talking about 11 games left. You go 3-3, you still finish 11-6, whatever the case may be. Because Shep, honestly, of course I want to be number one. I would love home field throughout, so we can hear more people like Sean Payton talk about it being the loudest place he's ever been. Yes, right. Of course, perfect world. But you know what I've learned? I think especially when you have a team that has moxie and a team that's like, oh, I don't care. You know what? If you get in, how many times have we seen the Kansas City Chiefs go, oh, cool, we have to go to Buffalo. All right, we'll beat them there. Oh, cool, we have to go to Cincinnati. We'll beat them there. Of course, yes. And you'd rather have home field advantage throughout. No doubt about that. But I guess since they won the division last year and we saw them win 2 home games, this is a team that, forget about what they did for us. Most importantly, they proved to themselves, we can go play with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
We've been saying it for the longest time.
Yeah, you sense that. I think the other good thing about this team, Sean, is we always hear that cliche about you're the hunted now rather than the hunter.
Sure.
I think this team recognizes that. I think they embrace it. I think they continue to play with the chip on their shoulder, like they still have something to prove. And the best thing is they do have players who have been in this situation before. I think that's really important to know what it's like to be on the road playing in that game to get you to the Super Bowl, to be in the Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. Okay. When you've got an offensive lineman who can do that, and you've got a quarterback who can do that, and they've got that type of experience, and you've got a member of your coaching staff who's gone deep into the playoffs, those things are vital. I really think that's an edge that is important that this team can use as they move forward and not get overwhelmed with it.
Yeah. Alex says, hey, guys, what's up, Alex? Tim said, easy to see. Look how close they got with the 19th rated defense. Look how long it took the Raiders to break through in the 70s. Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy as people. I always use the Bills. Shep, honestly, I mean, the Bills of yesteryear, the 88, 89, 90, 91, that whole era, with the loss to the Redskins, the loss to the Giants, and 2 losses to the Cowboys, I didn't think there's a snowball's chance in Hades. With what they had on both sides of the ball, I didn't think there were Cornelius Bennett and Conlon and Bruce Smith on the defense, and then everything they had on offense. I didn't think they'd get phased out. It was the wrong era to be a good team in. And the Buffalo Bills of the last few years, I mean, look at how much talent they've had. And it was only a matter of time before Josh Allen broke through, right?
Right.
It's not as easy as we make it out to be. It just isn't.
Well, look at this. 2 years ago, the Giants were feeling like they were a step away.
Yep.
They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. And they felt like, you know what? Next year, we're going to come back hungrier. We're going to use these lessons we learned. We're going to win the division. The expectations were massive. 2 years ago, the Eagles, they made the Super Bowl. Everybody thinks that just because you reach a certain point, that the next year you'll get one step further. That's not how it always works.
Yep.
What is it? Every year, there's 6 to 7 teams that made the playoffs the previous year that won't make it the next, or there's somebody new jumping in. I don't think they take it for granted, nor should we as a fan base. And I think that's the reason I have so much hope is the Lions understand that. I think they've really understood and grasped and embraced that type of situation that they're about to face.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, man. I'm 100% into this team. I like what they have. I'm not sitting here saying that they're the prohibitive favorite or anything. Do I expect them to get to the Super Bowl? Yeah. I'm intrigued by Philly. How do they bounce back? Because you just talked about Shep. I was terrified of Philly last year, terrified. And then the beatdown happened, and they just never recovered. And when you think about it, I saw them a bunch of times down the stretch. I remember the Giants game in particular and how they lost to that Tampa team. I'll never know.
Yeah,
There was something wrong. There was something wrong. Did they get it right? Did they learn from those lessons, et cetera, et cetera? So let's not forget. And somebody is going to rear their head this year. I don't know who. Somebody is going to play the role of the Detroit Lions from 2023. Every year it happens. Somebody's just going to come out of nowhere and say, we've had a bunch of nice pieces, but guess what? We're on the scene. It's just not as easy as we all say it to be.
Bill says, do we beat the Rams in week 1? If the Lions have the health of what their team is right now going into week 1 against the Rams, yeah, I think they beat them. I think they've gotten better in the back end. I think you and I talked about it last week about Campbell improving and things like that. Personally, I'm really interested to see how Marcus Davenport does when they get him into that lineup. I think he's a really important piece. They've got to have some more pass rushing capability.
By the way, Jahmyr Gibbs, news out of camp, being evaluated for a leg injury. Terrion Arnold being evaluated for an upper body injury. Ennis Rakestraw being evaluated for an ankle injury. Shep, you said the I word, and I happened to gaze down at Twitter, and here we are. I mean, let's hope none of them are serious, but yes, best laid plans can fall apart rather quickly when you lose. Forget about a key component, multiple key components.
Why depth is vital, man.
Yep.
It's another example of why you draft the best available players.
Yep.
You go out there. I don't care if you've got a guy. If this guy's high on your board, you go get him because you're going to need him at some point. Okay, and the Lions might be experiencing that right now. I think you're listing all that stuff because you have to list it.
Yep.
You also might be listing that in a way of saying, you know what, I'm not going to play those guys in preseason game number 2 because I just want to be careful, and that's
Yep.
okay too. Get them as healthy as they possibly can during the season. You and I both know this. During the season, everybody's playing hurt. By the time it's week 4, week 5, everybody's got something wrong with them.
You got it. Hey, let's tell you about Legacy Partners, and then Shep, I want to pick your brain on some college football stuff. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. What Legacy does is they help our listeners and my family by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you. And yes, help save you some money. Isn't that what everybody wants and needs right about now? Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. So what are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, business insurance needs. They will cover you as they cover my family. So call them today, 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Shep, I am really anxiously awaiting this college football season, more so than I have in many years, because this year, I mean, NIL aside and all the transfer portal stuff, I have no idea what to expect. And what I mean by that is I don't know how the 12-team playoff is going to work. I don't know how many teams are going to end up taken from the Big Ten, taken from the SEC, taken from the Big 12, taken from the AC, at large, all of that stuff, right? And because of that, like, I am really jacked up about the prospects of this college football season. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say it again. NIL, you got to fix that. Transfer portal, you got to fix that. I think it's too late. Pandora's box has already been open, but sticking to things on the field, I'm more excited about this season than I have been a long time in college football because of the unknown.
Every year this time of season, so long as I've worked with Sean Baligian, he used to have something on his show. I don't know if it was this time of season, maybe it's a little bit later on in August, early September. College or pro?
Yep.
Sean was always a college guy.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
All right. I don't know if you're still that way. There are certain things that maybe have soured you on it. Yes, I'm excited about it. Also, I'm worried about it. I don't know if you saw the comments from Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham, but he was talking with a veteran reporter and he said this. He said, I think there is a major realignment coming, and it's going to be a big one. I think it will create even more of a divide and exclusivity for the teams that are on the right side of that line. I see an expansion of the playoff with that to 16 teams, and the short version is it's a super conference. I think it's going to boil down to 40 to 60 maybe teams in a super conference, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't play anybody but those in that super conference. That scares the hell out of me. Because I think, first of all, I really like him. I think he's a hell of a coach. Second of all, he knows what the hell he's talking about. And thirdly, I don't think many people will care. And I will be one of the few who does. And I think it's dangerous. I think it's bad for college football. As much as you and I would love to see USC play Michigan State, I'd love to see an SEC team come up here in October and play Michigan or Ohio State or play at Beaver Stadium instead of the teams from the Midwest going down south all the time. But I think it's really important you have mid-major programs. I think it's really important for kids to be able to go and play at a Mid-American Conference school or the Sun Belt or, the American Football Conference and be able to play some big teams and be able to sustain those football programs for a long period of time. And with that possibility, these super conferences, that will not happen. And I don't think it's good for college football.
I loved my time in the MAC, and I know you spent a long time there. I was only there a few years. I loved my time in the MAC, and it is a good football program. And you and I could sit here for the next 10 minutes and talk about big wins that the MAC had over schools they had no chance at.
You saw more than anybody with Toledo beating teams, yeah?
Listen, I'm not joking. Went to Penn State and pounded them. Like
Yeah.
that's not a joke. Like by what was it, 24-6, and it wasn't that close. Beat Purdue at home. Joe Tiller, Drew Brees beat Purdue at home.
Teams didn't want to play them. Teams did not
No.
want to play
No.
certain teams in the MAC, and Toledo has as rich a history as any. Northern Illinois recently, before Joe Novak, but recently, big wins for Western out in Blacksburg against West Virginia, against
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Thank you. Eastern's beaten a lot of Big Ten teams, and teams are like, damn. I mean, this isn't. What does it do for us? It's not good for us, but it's really good for the Mid-American Conference, and it's good for college football for those teams to get the payday and continue to play and recruit kids. We need to make sure that college football is got enough spots for kids who aren't all the 5 stars, who aren't going to go to the NFL, but still want to enjoy that experience. And my fear is if you're going to go to 40 to 60 teams and they're only going to play one another, the rest of college football is just going to be a club sport. Or it's going to be a pay to play. And if people don't think that's real, you're not paying attention. That is a real possibility. It's scary stuff.
Well, and it's interesting, as Austin said, I hate to say it, but the Fighting Irish have an easy schedule by their standards, and I like that quarterback they grabbed from Duke. I think they'll be in the Final Four. Well, this is part of what I'm getting at, Austin, because there might be a team like Notre Dame this year. I'm going to use the example of Penn State. Penn State's schedule is cake. Like if you haven't versed yourself in it, their schedule is absolute cake. Now, again, I know who their coach is, and he will single-handedly blow one game this year. I mean, I'm not exactly going out on a limb there, Shep. The Franklin factor, you take one -1 to start the season, and you're okay. But I'm going to be intrigued to see how the committee handles that. If Penn State, who literally their schedule is just a pile of dog crap. If they roll to 10-2 or God forbid 11-1, okay, do you take a 10-2, 11-1 over a 3-loss Michigan, over a 3-loss Texas in the SEC, over a 3-loss Miami in the ACC? Those are going to be really interesting questions. I don't know. There's no criteria here, so I don't know how it's going to play out. But I would think that schedule would come into play. But 11-1 is still 11-1. I mean, that's the way it is. Crap schedule or not.
Well, look. It's they've done it historically, have they not?
Yeah,
they've taken that into account, right? So why wouldn't they continue to do something like that? I would guess they would.
Yeah.
I didn't look at State. I see now that you say that it's at West Virginia, it's Bowling Green, it's Kent State, 2 MAC teams we're just talking about. Illinois. What is their hardest game? At USC. They got Ohio State at home. They got Washington at home. Yeah, it's favorable. You're right about that, Sean. I didn't look at it like you studied it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't buy it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm just not going to. They got a really good quarterback. I know
it's
that.
Franklin. Right? It's Franklin. Yeah. Like, honestly. By the way, Adam Schefter is tweeting. A source says Jahmyr Gibbs suffered a hamstring injury at today's practice.
Well, I hate hamstring injuries, especially for running backs, for guys who do run the ball a lot. If you sat him for the next 2 weeks, you would not make me upset. I mean, I don't care who you give it to. Give it to a big fat slob if you want to. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm in.
Just please, just let that get. But the beauty is Detroit's got a legitimate, 2-headed monster that is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I love David Montgomery. I've liked him ever since I liked him in Chicago too. But if you want to be extra cautious with Jahmyr Gibbs, you're not going to break my heart. That's for sure.
Yeah. Eric asked Shep, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet, what you think Michigan's record is going to be.
I think it's going to. I've said this. I think Michigan State's going to be bowl eligible. I think
So
they
do I.
can win at least 6 games. I think it's a possibility of 7. I think Michigan, Texas, especially because it's early in the season, I think is going to be really tough, and I think Oregon is going to be tough, and Ohio State. So I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan was saddled with 2 or 3 losses. You know,
I
so
said 9-3 Michigan, 6-6 Michigan State. And I'm going to say it again. I don't think Michigan State is very good, and their depth is woefully low.
Yep.
But if we're talking about bad schedules, look at Michigan State's schedule.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
is.
there's a couple challenges there. That's why you say 6-6. I really like Jonathan Smith. I think
Love
it was a home run hire.
Great
I
hire.
hope I'm right about that. I could see them possibly squeaking out a 7th. Maryland's going to be tough. If they got that, then I could see them getting 7 wins. You're right. Michigan, there's a certain game on that schedule. You know, whether you think it's Oregon or Texas, you know, playing Texas early in the season would scare me. But there's that one game that's going to swing me between 9 and 10. So I'm right there with you. Yeah. But I do think they make the playoffs.
Yeah. Let me talk to you about our friends at the Wealth Advantage. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville and owned by those two guys right there, the Handsome brothers, with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. As a matter of fact, the guy on the left, Mike, is convinced that Michigan's going to go 20-0 for like the next 10 years. Just ask him. He'll tell you. Love you, Mike. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. And they work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in 20 different states. Look, the investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574, or make sure to view their website at www.thewealthadv.com.
Can I ask you one more question?
Of course,
I'm just wondering, how does Penn State get away with that schedule, do you think?
I don't
I mean,
know.
they don't have to play. And I know how you feel about Michigan State, but if you had to play at Spartan Stadium, there still could be. You never know, man. There could be an upset there. How do they avoid Michigan? With a combination of Ohio State at home, no Michigan State, and there's one other team, and no Oregon. I mean, that is that. How did that happen?
I don't know. I and it's interesting because I think, to me, Shep, like I look back at Michigan last year, their out of conference schedule was laughable, absolutely laughable. And you know what I say to that? Good for them. Good for them. Like they didn't have to put
You know what I
anybody
say to
on
that?
there.
Yeah, here's what I say to that. If I'm the athletic director, or I'm the head coach, I do that all day long.
Mhm.
I do 2 mid-major programs at home. Let them make some money and let you have both. Thanks, Cooper. Let you have, feel your oats a little bit and get your guys used to banging pads with somebody else and all that other stuff. I think it's just smart business. Anybody who says that you're going to play in the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big 12, and you're going to schedule somebody from one of those 3 power conferences just so you and I can be entertained is full of crap. You're not going to do that. If you're the athletic director, if you're sitting in that chair and you're having that meeting with your head coach, you're not doing that. And it's just unwise because it takes too much of a toll on your players and your program. You have a certain goal. This is where you want to get to, then you don't schedule that type of schedule. I thought what Michigan did might have been, maybe one in there should have been a little bit more competitive. But overall, how do you argue with it? And a lot of schools do that, by the way. Not everything is done for TV and you and I. They do it because at the end, they want to be there and they want their team to be clicking at the right time.
At the end of the day, we can talk about everything that happened in Michigan, okay, whether it be Connor Stallions, cheeseburgers, whatever the case may be. We can talk about ECU, UNLV, and BG. But as we have that conversation, make sure somewhere in that point in time in the conversation, you include the term national champion. Like, like you have to do it. I mean, that's just tip of the cap. I don't care if you hate them or you love them. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. What they did last year worked for them, period, end of story. And they're the national champions.
Sean, do you think it will change much now that the conference is the way it is?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know, but Shep, I don't I wish I could give you more than that. I don't know how. I know it will. I mean, it's got to. And I think people are fooling themselves if they think that 4 or 5 Big Ten teams are going to get into the playoff. I think you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, look, but look at Alabama, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's going to play Western Kentucky. They're going to play Mercer later in the year, which I think is really smart by Alabama. You know, you get those non-conference games. I think they've got 4, but later in the year they kind of get a breath in between, you know, LSU and Auburn or somebody in the Big Ten. But they've got Mercer later in the season. At the beginning of the year, they go Western Kentucky, South Florida, and then they're at Wisconsin.
Yep.
Now, the Wisconsin one's a challenge, you know, but it probably won't be this year. But that's the big name out of conference, right? They still have 3 teams, and they've got their first 2 games are at home against soft competition that allows them to find their rhythm, gain some confidence with young players, get adjusted to a lot of different things before they play Wisconsin, then dive into the into the SEC. But later on, they're going to play a softie, but they position that later on for a good reason. I think it's the smart way to schedule.
Yep. Especially with that schedule being what it is now, you know, now you add Texas into the mix. Absolutely. That's absolutely brilliant. Cooper is stealing signs. Cooper Bark wants if the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. Eric said, what kind of dog is it? Shep, it's a lab, right?
I have 2 Goldens.
Okay, 2 Goldens. All right. Outstanding.
Yep.
Yeah. Coach Hunter said, Shep, you need to give your dog some FaceTime. Sean does it. Yeah, if you want to yank him up and show him, be my guest. All right, one more thing before we get out of here.
Cooper will break down the door anytime I shut the door so you and I can talk. Cooper feels like he's got to come in here and be part of it. And then he'll come in, make sure I'm okay, and then leave. And then he'll go bark at the window because somebody's actually had the nerve in the neighborhood to walk their dog. How dare they? How dare they go out there and walk the dog?
It's incredible. Let me tell you about All About Catering. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. Rick and his crew at All About Catering will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and their 5-star reviews, or give them a call 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep, I know we're going to be doing Monday. Oh, look at that. There you go. You muted your mic though. Yeah, he's got the mic. There you go.
Right there.
Yeah. What up?
Yep,
what up? I love dogs. Shep, I know Thursday I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be in Milwaukee. I saw Jimmy Young in the thread. My buddy from the UP. We're meeting Jimmy Young. I'm finally going to see that new ballpark. Yeah,
you'll like it. It's nice.
I love County Stadium. It was a big dump, but I'm convinced the nicest people in the history of man live in Wisconsin. They're all happy and drunk and love cheese. And it's like,
will you do me one favor?
Of course.
Just buy some brats and show them how to grill brats. Just say, hey, listen, I'm used to cooking brisket. I'm used to cooking things that real men eat, but I'm going to show you how. You'll really make a lot of friends by doing that, Sean.
Of course. Yes. Tell them they're
fun, man. Bring your glove, because you get a lot of runs in that ballpark.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I'll catch up with you soon. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us as well. Todd, thank you. We will talk to you soon. Be well. God bless you. Bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matcherzak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. And engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.